All right, everybody. Welcome to the fourth episode already of the Three Amigos. The Three Amigos is a podcast where three friends talk about their shared passions, being heavy metal music and craft beer. Although, on that second note, I know at least JP is not with us tonight because he has abandoned beer for whiskey tonight. What are you drinking?
Hey, I'm drinking Glenlivet 15. Aged in French oak barrels, so love it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I'm doing. I'm also following you with the barrel-aged drinks, but mine is a Chardonnay barrel-aged Belgian triple beer by Salter Street Brewery in Riverside in Toronto. Andrei, what are you pouring for yourself?
I am being pretty unoriginal. I like wheat beer, so I picked this up.
Beauty. Andrei's holding up
I usually prefer the German style wheat beer, but this one was in my grocery store, so why not? It's also quite nice.
It is a good one. Don't worry about that. This is gonna be a beauty. Let's see. What am I poisoning my body with? Oh, this is only 7.5. So, all right, guys. Hey, to episode 4. Cheers.
It's good.
Cheers.
That is good. All right. Well, hey, the subject of today's conversation is slightly different than what we've done so far. We all did a little bit of homework, and each of us came up with 2 lineups for the ultimate heavy metal super group. Now, we've divided this into 2 groups each. So we both made a lineup for one more classic heavy metal band and one more modern or extreme metal band. That was really the only direction that we gave ourselves. So we have a little bit of flexibility here to play with. But guys, remind me, I think we landed on people have to be alive as a rule to be in the band, or is that not the case?
I don't think that was the case, but
yeah, I don't think that's the case.
All right. All right, so no worries. So okay, people don't have to be alive, and then I guess that also just means that the people that are alive, does that mean that they are as they are today, or as they were at the top of their capabilities?
The prime.
Yeah. This is prime. I'm gonna say for one of my selections, I'm gonna pick an era because it's a vocalist whose style evolved over time.
Okay.
And I prefer a later era, but I'll get to that later when the time comes.
Interesting. All right. Well, so we'll see how this conversation goes. There will be some clips available on the Belgian Jasper YouTube channel where we go into a little bit more detail, and we also use video imagery. But we have 6 lineups to go through. Where do we want to start, guys? Do we want to do a classic lineup first or a more modern?
I think classic.
I agree. Let's start with the beginning.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, 100%.
I think, Andrei, you've kind of thrown out some hints there, and I think you made both JP and myself quite curious. So, why don't you kick us off? And in any way that you want to do that, you might want to start with the least important person, the drummer, first. Unless you have a
keyboard player.
So there you guys.
Say, what if I have a keyboard player? What is that?
Well, who knows? So for those of you that are new listeners to this podcast, who you're actually listening to is JP Revel, who is a director of finance at LiveNation, but more importantly, he is a phenomenal drummer in an Iron Maiden cover band called Piece of Maiden right here in Toronto. And sometimes that band, for specific songs from the Somewhere in Time album, they are assisted on stage by Andrei Zaretski, our second Amigo, who is the keyboard player of Driftglass, a Toronto-based prog metal band. And then last, you have myself, Jasper, and I don't really know how to play any instruments. So there you go.
No, but you have a very influential YouTube channel in the metal world, Belgian Jasper. I think everybody should check it out. It's I love the videos, lots of great interviews with lots of bands. So yeah,
awesome.
And
Thank you,
Belgian
JP.
Jasper. Yeah,
And a vast knowledge of metal in general, even though we'll never admit it to your face, but we're not.
All good, all good. All right, so with
We're
that
not
being
recording
said, exactly, this is being recorded. So everybody that listens now knows, even if this is your first time listening to the podcast, if that is the case, thank you for checking us out. This is pretty awesome. So we appreciate your support. And now you know who you're listening to. But take us away, Andrei.
Okay, no problem. And as you can tell, I did have to write this down, and I'm going to be honest, I have been changing this constantly. I even changed it earlier today too. So I'll start with the least important member of the band. I do have a keyboard player in my classic lineup, just because I absolutely love John Lord. I've recently started listening to a lot of Deep Purple because my son just happens to be into it, my 4-year-old, and recently bought a really nice new keyboard by Nord, which sounds fantastic, and I've been meaning to play some Deep Purple on there. So John Lord just absolutely has to be there to kind of complement that. A lot of classic lineups I find didn't rely on twin guitars. They did kind of set over whatever you want with just one guitar and one keyboard player. So in a little bit of a weird, perverse motion, I've coupled John Lord's playing with Marty Friedman just for a little bit of fun. I think he has a lot of the Eastern melodies, and his tone I think will go really well with the organ that John puts through. So it's I think John did really well with Blackmore, but I really want to see what's going to happen when Friedman kind of takes it on. And then you need a really solid anchor to drive that. So classic is as classic goes. I put Geezer Butler as my classic lineup bass player. I think very underrated, incredibly underrated. A lot of people focus on the more kind of aggressive bass playing that got popular in the 90s. But if you really listen to some of the stuff that he's done in his Black Sabbath days, it's absolutely incredible. And
100%.
Not all of it is simple, but sometimes the simplicity just really takes it to a different level.
Yeah. And Andrei, before you go on, like we've got a nice section of your band here now, and I just want to say it makes total sense. Like if you have John Lord in your band, who is basically a lead guitar player who just happens to play keyboard versus a guitar. Like there's keyboard players that fill gaps with soundscapes, with a musical glue, if you will. That is not what a John Lord does. So it makes total sense to me that you would put John Lord together with one lead guitar player. And so far, I'm very curious to see how your band's going to continue. But Geezer Butler definitely contributed to Black Sabbath, but maybe was not the main songwriter. Definitely penned a lot of good songs. But John Lord is definitely one of those very influential people in Deep Purple. So Marty Friedman, for all the great stuff that he's done, in the biggest bands that he was in, he was not necessarily the key songwriter. He would play solo. So that makes sense to me so far. You don't have 3 band leaders together that, if this was a real project, would all be fighting over who gets to write the music. So good job so far. I'm very intrigued. JP, I see you nodding a lot whenever Andrei says something. So I think
he cheated.
He cheated?
I haven't talked to Andrei in like a month, and then he must have come to my house and he stole my list. Because I have John. I don't know if I should give it away, but I have John Lord on keyboard and I have Geezer on bass. For me, wow. Geezer is, I was debating with Steve Harris for the longest time. My love for Maiden. You know how much I love Steve, the songs he wrote. My 2 favorite Maiden songs were written by Steve. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner and Hallowed Be Thy Name. But still, I had to go with Geezer. He wrote the opening riff of the first heavy metal album ever. He wrote the opening riff of Black Sabbath. at the way he plays. I love the production on Heaven and Hell. You can really hear the bass if you listen to a song like Wishing Well.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable, the bass line. Fairies Wear Boots. Crazy rhythm section with amazing bass. So yeah,
awesome.
I totally agree with Geezer. It's the ultimate metal, classic metal bass player.
And now that we know that neither of you have put John Lord with Steve Harris together, that's a good move again, because John Lord and Steve Harris, their egos would have killed each other before the first note would have been played. All right, Andrei, continue.
Sure. So I'll get to speaking of the glue of the band, I'll get to the more difficult selection that I've had, which was the drum.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, JP is already rocking out there. I actually changed this way too many times. And I changed it again today. That was my edit. Now, up until about 6 hours ago, I was going with Mike Portnoy.
Mm-hmm.
Just because even though he can have that really aggressive, really progressive mood to it, but I think he would play off John Lord really well when it comes to songwriting, from like a lead, the melody, and then marry that with the rhythm. But I kept on thinking that he might be a little bit too heavy with his band. So about 6 hours ago, I switched the gears around, and Neil Peart rose from the dead and became the new drummer.
Oh wow. That's starting to get into a band where a lot is gonna go on, right? This is like
there's a lot happening
on Lord's keyboard with some Marty Friedman over that, with some Geezer in there. That's gonna be like 20-minute long prog songs to go crazy.
That's what I'm talking about.
There you go. Awesome. So then we have one more. Do we have one more member, or are there more members in your band?
There is a singer in this band. That was the other one. This is the most difficult thing, and I'm still kind of torn between the two, but I'm gonna go with Russell Allen on vocals. I find that he fits that style so perfectly. He can complement the Friedman kind of licks. He can really go into the Lord, not that Lord, but the John Lord keyboards. I find that he can rise a little bit above the traditional organ. The word escapes me. The register.
Yeah.
He goes a little bit higher. He cuts through, but he has that little guttural kind of feeling to it. So really set it apart. And then Lord has the kind of distorted organ down in the lower register. And when Butler plays, he's going to really make it pop. If you guys are curious, my backup for that was Hansi. But as much as I love Hansi, I really just wanted to have him in the band. But I don't think he would have been such a sweet fit as Russell Allen would.
Yeah, I think that's a really good choice. That's a pretty sweet prog hard rock / metal band that you got there, Andrei.
Yeah, thank you. A girl can dream. But yeah, that was the other thing. Like Russell.
Well, there's a few people that are no longer here, so I don't think the dreaming part is going to become reality anymore, unfortunately.
That's a fair point. Fair enough. But yeah, like I said, you hit the nail right on the head with for the whole prog element. Like most of these guys, well, I would say, I guess Geezer is the exception there, but most of these guys have kind of dabbled in the progressive era, so I think they'll really work together. Hansi, as much as I love him, he's an amazing vocalist, but the choirs and that kind of like style is what he's really known for, and I just don't see that happening.
It would be more symphonic almost than proggy. JP, we already know that you've got at least two similar or the same musicians in your lineup, so maybe it makes sense that we go to your over to you and see what did you take this combo of Butler and Lord into a different direction, or did Andrei really copy your entire list?
No, I didn't copy my entire list.
How do you know if you didn't have my list?
Because out of the two of you, I think that Andrei is more the cheater. That's why.
Is it the stash?
It is the stash. All right, so JP, take us away.
Yeah, I'll take you through my lineup. I'm gonna keep the drummer for the end because it's a bit of a different drummer and not really fitting in the overall genre of the band. However, I feel like its groove, the ways he plays, can still be a great fit. So as you said, Geezer on bass, John Lord on keyboard. I'll go with 2 guitar players. My number one pick is Adrian Smith. Adrian, before after Maiden, while he was in Maiden, was always in other bands playing some rock, blues, heavy hard rock music. So very influenced by the 70s. I feel like Adrian would be a great fit for that.
Have you listened to his Urchin EP?
No, I haven't.
The one that his band before Maiden?
No, I haven't.
You should check it out. Like there's there's some really long song on there as well. But it's basically just, Adrian Smith doing what Adrian Smith does best.
Yeah. And even, so he's a great songwriter. I love the way he plays the guitar. He's my favorite Maiden guitar player. And if you listen to his solos, there's always some licks from rhythm and blues. It's not only metal. He has a great, variety of riffs and solos and licks into his play. So I would pick Adrian Smith. And to late that, and I was really debating between Richie Blackmore and Angus Young, but I went with Angus. Again, going back to the rhythm and blues, the influence of the 70s, some of the heavier riffs from AC/DC. And also I love the way Angus plays. I had to pair the two of them because of that boogie rock, hard rock influences. So Adrian Smith, Angus Young, also Richie Blackmore, a huge ego. I don't know if you wouldn't fit in the band. So with Geezer and John Lord. Awesome. Giving the history, in vocal I have to go with Bruce Dickinson. I know there's 2 Maiden guys, but at least I didn't pick Steve Harris. I know I have Bruce. For me, it's the ultimate classic metal vocalist. His range is unbelievable. He can sing different styles. If you listen to his solo career, what he did in Maiden, what he did on the Aryan album, 10001001.
The wrong album.
I know. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Yes.
Flight of the Migrator.
Yes, the work he did on that album is unbelievable.
I just wanted to call out that you're absolutely right that with all the amazing stuff that Bruce Dickinson has done, his vocals on Into the Black Hole on Aryan is definitely in my top 5, maybe even top 3 songs of Bruce Dickinson, and it might just be his greatest on studio performance. Like, it's so amazingly good, given that this is also not when it was a 28-year-old Bruce Dickinson anymore. But anyway, sorry to cut you off. Amazing.
No, it's
choice,
great.
Amazing choice.
So that's it for the band, except now I'm going to talk about the drummer, and is really like Andrei. I kept changing.
Oh my God, you picked yourself.
No. What? No, I did not. I have to go with Nick Menza. All right, thrash drummer, but I would say a classic drummer in a lot of ways. And first of all, unbelievable drummer. And it's very different from the other thrash drummers if you compare to Dave Lombardo, like lots of speed and anger. If you listen to Nick Menza, there's a lot of groove, like the middle part in Hangar 18, when the solos kick in, it's very groovy. It has a
almost proggy.
I was going to say proggy, jazzy, rock, you name it. Like I know it sounds weird in the sense that it's a very thrash metal album, but still, if you listen to it, it's a very different style of drumming, and I think he would probably fit in there. So that's my band. It's Nick Menza on drums.
Awesome.
It's funny, JP. I was actually thinking when I was putting together the list, I'm like, okay, classic metal, and Nick Menza was the first thing that popped into my head. I didn't go with him, obviously, but had I done so, we would have had 3 overlaps, which is
Then I was really getting curious if that would have happened. But hey, I want to, JP, you bring up a really good point. If somebody is predominantly known for a certain style or a certain band, but shows that they have some other stuff, even if they don't really get to show that in their big band, doesn't mean that they couldn't be an awesome fit for a different genre. I had a call. Sorry, not a call. I did an interview last week, or was it this week? No. When we're recording this mid-April, but this week I released an interview on my YouTube channel with the singer of Lavara, which is a new poppy melodic rock band, and their drummer, Josh Devine, is an absolute animal on drums. He has been the drummer of One Direction, and he looks like a member of One Direction, right? He's a pretty boy, cute. He's the biggest metalhead you'll ever find, and he's just loving the fact that he can now do some more hard rock stuff. And so I'm sure that Nick Menza would add a nice little burst of energy also, because let's be honest, if you've got Angus Young and Adrian Smith, going crazy, you might need some drum fills to keep them in check as well. So no, I like your lineup. You took it in a very different way, more like a blues rocky kind of way. And any off the cuff, how do you say it in English? Off the cuff band names that you would have for this star lineup?
No, at least I have an excuse. I work in finance. I'm not like Andrei, who's works in marketing. He's creative. He should have a name for his band. At least I have an excuse.
The porn.
Didn't know that wasn't in the brief.
No worries. Awesome. Hey, no, this is
pay for the naming.
That's true. Andrei's a professional. He's only being creative when he gets paid for it.
Awesome. You're good at something, never do it for free.
That's true. All right, awesome.
Your turn now. Your turn, Jasper. What's your band?
I did something similar to JP at one point where I somebody that may be more known for something but does have the credentials for another thing. So I interpret this a little bit different. So I built a lineup for a classic metal band, but not necessarily looking back so much. So I kind of built my lineup with what would be the ultimate kick-ass, old school, but maybe with a modern twist, but like a classic power metal band, like the ultimate kick-ass metal band. If I were to build that today, and I did make it maybe a little harder because I did limit myself to something that would work today. Although for one of the people on my list, I will now happily also accept the flexibility to have them at their best. You'll see what I'm talking about. So I've got a lot. I didn't really go look in the 70s to build my band, or not even to some extent in the 80s. So my band is a little bit younger. I'm gonna start with my drummer, not because I think it's the least important, but because I think that person is driving the band. And I'm going with Hannes van Dahl from Sabaton. Solid drummer, but brings, with every hit of those sticks, he really powers a band forward. If he can be one of the more noticeable instruments in a powerful band like Sabaton, I think he's a solid fit. To complete my rhythm section, which has to be working very well together, I'm going with one of the best bass players around at this time, I think. Now in Creator, but before a Dragon Force, so has that power metal background, but Frédéric Leclerc, which is just a phenomenal bass player. And he might not, when he joined Creator, that is going to limit the amount of, time in the spotlight that he might get, or time as a songwriter. But he's done some great projects outside of those bands. Sinsanum is also one of his bands. Great, powerful player. I've opted, like JP, to do twin guitar or tandem guitars. And I've chosen two people that can both be rhythm and lead as it needs, because I do like this whole dueling guitar solos, which I think, the ultimate kick-ass metal band should have. The first person is the most known person, and again, I went for, well, even now he's not the youngest anymore, but still a little bit more, newer blood that has reinvigorated a very well-known band. I'm going with Richie Faulkner from Judas Priest, who replaced KK in Judas Priest, and with that, I think started this new era for that band, and clearly showed energy. And I know he's been one of the main songwriters in that band now as well. And side by side, I'm gonna put a guitar player, which might be my biggest surprise, if you will. Not as known maybe just yet, at least not in the Western world, but she really blew me away completely. I'm talking about Miyako from Love Bites, which is an all-female Japanese power metal band. And if you've seen her play, it's just ridiculous. Not the main songwriter in that band by any means, and I thought that was important to kind of balance some very powerful people that will put their mark on a band, and then other people that can kind of complement that. And that leaves me, I did not pick keyboards in this band, because this is a true metal band, and I don't think that keyboards are necessarily essential. We can do some guitar synths. Yeah, well, I know, I'm saying true metal. But actually, I still have 6 people in my band, because I actually went for dual singers, and I'm balancing two voices that I think would be so awesome together. My first vocalist is Brittany Slace from Unleash the Archers. Phenomenal voice, phenomenal range, and I'm putting her side by side with Eric Adams from Manowar. And this is where I will happily accept Eric from 1988 versus 2021. Although, the last, their final battle tour, I've seen some live clips where at 67 years old, he still has a scream that is pretty impressive. But I figured that, in this band, Eric can bring certain screams and drive the song forward, and then have Brittany with her big voice coming in at the times where it's really necessary, and driving the song forward. And obviously the opening scream of a song. Just imagine Brittany Slace and Eric Adams screaming at the same time.
Wow.
That would just be kick-ass. So that is my band.
Still trying to get over the fact that Eric Adams is 67 years old. That
would be an awesome band.
So there you go.
Outbreak. I love Hannes Van Dahl. As a drummer, I find him very, very tasteful. We can talk about the energy he brings to Sabaton. We can talk about his speed. But at the end of the day, if you listen to the way he plays on the hi-hat, on the right cymbal, and it's very detailed, very particular, very, very tasteful. And just the intro of Great War, what he does. Yeah, he's a great drummer. Love him. I think it's a great fit for Sabaton. Well, I'm glad you picked him in your band. He's maybe my second favorite current metal drummer, I would say.
I was doubting at the beginning. I was like, I started with the drummer, and because it just really determines what style you're going to go with. And so I thought, with Hannes, although he can do the double kick and they can go fast and whatever, but with Hannes it's more like my other choice that I was potentially going to build a band around was Mickey D from Motorhead and King Diamond and now
Scorpions.
Scorpions. And it would have been more of a rock and roll twist, like a digadim 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 kind of drums. Frédéric Leclerc, I mean, what a phenomenal bass player. When he joined Creator became a super band. Creator really is a modern day super band where each member is just so phenomenal. And then Love Bites. If you haven't heard Love Bites just yet, check him out. Sorry, JP, you were gonna say something about Frédéric?
Yeah, Frédéric. Yeah, great bass player. He's also a great guitar player. He's on a side project where he plays the guitar. I'm super excited to see him on stage with Creator, hopefully in the next year or two. Hopefully that'd be great. I have to give credit to Christian Specie, who was there for 1994, I think, from Cause for Conflict, and went through the dark age of the end of the 90s for Creators, and then he was part of the renewal revival of the band in the last 25 years. But super excited to see Frédéric now with Creator.
Awesome. All right. Any surprises here, or things that you just absolutely don't agree with whatsoever?
No, I'm just surprised. It's just surprised that knowing how much you love the 70s, how much you love the 80s thrash, noir, metal. I'm surprised that there's not more artists from that era. No, it's a great idea. I love the band, and it's also different from what Andrei and I did. So
yeah, and that's why I said I kind of wanted to go okay, what could potentially happen right now, but just give it a different twist. But awesome. All right. Yeah, so how is everybody's drinking situation, by the way? I'm
doing fine.
Beer here. Our second lineups, we decided we want more modern / extreme. Obviously, I already had a pretty modern lineup myself earlier, so maybe JP or Andrei have a modern classic band, a modern power metal band, or maybe you went to the full extreme. We'll find out. I see JP, you're nodding quite a bit. Why don't you tell us what you came up with?
Again, I have 6 members in my band. I feel like that's the right number of members for a metal band. I have 1 drummer, 1 keyboard player, 2 guitar players, 1 singer.
A keyboard player, interesting.
And obviously a bass player. So I'll start with a drummer this time, because last time I finished, because I wanted to clarify why I pick Nick Menza in a hard rock band. But so this time for my extreme modern band, I had to go with the best drummer that exists today, which is Mario Duplantier from Gojira. He's mind-blowing. He's definitely he's the leader of the band. This is maybe the first time in history there's a leader of a band that's a drummer. Is technically way ahead of everybody. He's a great drummer. I love his energy on stage. The stage presence is unbelievable. Songwriting skills are great, and he's definitely sets the pace for any Gojira song. So I would love to have him as a drummer in my top extreme modern band. That would be Mario Duplantier.
Yeah.
Great choice.
Solid choice. For the longest time, I wanted to pick him. And then I was like, no, there's these 2 other drummers that I need to decide in between, but it was close call. Great pick. But to your point, he's very influential into the sound of Gojira. So I'm curious to see where you're going to take this band. Is this going to be similar in the modern technical death metal that Gojira brings, or are you going to take us on a completely different route?
Well, let's see. So along his side, rhythm section. For a bass player, I have Mr. Thomas Orion Wroblewski from Behemoth. I love his style. He's definitely a modern extreme drummer. He could do great backing vocals. Bass player. Sorry. Can do the backing vocals on stage.
He's a presence.
He's a presence.
He's a presence. Yeah.
100%. And you can definitely hear his bass lines on the Behemoth albums, live albums. His great sound. I don't know what his settings are, But no, I think is my favorite modern slash extreme bass player at the moment. Definitely, he's a personality. He's a character. He's a character in the world of metal today, and
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Okay,
Good
so that
choice.
was my
Really good choice.
rhythm section.
He also is the coolest motherfucker on the block. Like when he's on stage, like I mean, Nergal is obviously the prince of Behemoth, but next to Nergal with all his antics, you've got this giant of a bass player who doesn't need to do anything to look the cool. Like, okay, sure, Behemoth goes with the makeup and the costumes and whatever, but if he was just standing there in his pajamas, he would still be the most menacing person you'd ever seen on a stage. Good choice, solid.
Then moving on to the guitar players. So I have an interesting duo. So funny, Andre, I have Marty Friedman, but I see him more as the modern player. It's not as extreme as the other band members I've picked. However, I find that his solos, especially obviously when he was in Megadeth, were very different, very sharp, very breakthrough at the time. Even on, again, I'm gonna bring up Hangar 18. There's one of the solos he plays where you feel like he has a whammy bar, but just because his technique, like you realize he doesn't have there's no whammy bar on his guitar. It's just the way he plays, like very, very modern guitar player in terms of sounds, it's their technique, playing the solos. So I have Marty. But yeah,
I find Marty incredible. It's funny you mentioned the whole thing about the whammy bar. Like, somebody once told me, and I don't know enough about guitar playing to really gauge if that's true or not, but somebody said, like, if you really listen to him, he bends almost every single note in at least some kind of way, which I find absolutely incredible, because to train your hand to do that, I mean, I doubt it's every single note, but a very strong majority. And the technicality and it's not only the speed and what he plays, but it's really like how he does it, and the sound it can create on the guitar is I find is very modern. So very influential. I don't want to hijack the conversation.
Go ahead.
Just because you did pick Marty and I did as well, we all have a joint respect for the man. What are your collective opinions on Kiko Loreu, or if I probably am pronouncing this incorrectly, but I've always found that he was the only one that mimics his guitar playing almost perfectly. Like, Megadeth has had a whole bunch of guitar players that tried to pick up his sound and his style, but I find Kiko to be just the only one that actually hits it.
Yeah, Kiko is phenomenal. I love him. I think he's the best since Marty. That's my opinion. You're 100% correct.
And in the spirit of this conversation, I get like Marty has maybe more the persona or the signature styles, and it makes sense that he's nominated by JP. But if you look at Mario Duplantier and you look at Orion, if you want to add a guitar player that can play some of that blackened thrash, Kiko might even be a better fit than Marty. But I get why you're going with the Marty. But
and it's a great transition to my second guitar player, because the reason I picked this guitar player is
hold on, JP. This band of yours, because we've had now 3 quite different people that are known for different styles. In your mind, what style of music does this band play? Which is important, right? Because if you built this band together, it has to work. So what style of music would Mario, Orion, and Marty play together?
When I pictured it, it was kind of a thrashy, melodic death metal band.
Okay.
Kind of a transition between the more 90s, like end of the thrash era, early melodic death in those. So it's a nice transition from that standpoint.
So a mix between Overkill, Coma, and a very early In Flames, if you will.
Yeah.
So Carcass,
sure.
Basically.
Yeah, Carcass.
Awesome. Okay, cool. No,
yeah.
And this is why
that's a good book.
Because the question is not, name your favorite bass player, your favorite drummer, your favorite. No,
yeah.
What is the band? What works?
Yeah. Awesome. That's why I picked the second guitar player is really to do you'd be a great link between Marty and Orion and Mario, really kind of transition. So I picked Sami Ilicirnio from Creator. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but Sami is, first of all, as I said, I love his style. I love the way he plays the guitar. It seems very simple, but it's so powerful. It's so efficient. It'd be a great rhythm guitar to go with Marty. His solos are great as well. From a sound perspective, I think it would blend well. As you know, he plays extreme, heavy thrash metal with Creator, so it would fit in right there. And yeah, in terms of he's maybe more shy, definitely not going to be stage presence, not like Mario or Orion, so it's going to fit in right there. But when it's time for him to shine and play his solo, it's going to be there. But really, really, the reason I picked him is really, really solid rhythm guitar. So that's the Marty and Sami, two of them together.
No, that sounds like a good combo to me. So obviously, we want to know who's your singer.
So my singer. They're good keyboard player.
Keyboard player.
And that's why, to fit in that thrash / melodic death metal genre that I just mentioned a few minutes ago, I have to go with Janne Vernman from Children of Bodom. So I don't know if I pronounce his name right, but
probably not.
But yeah. Yeah, he was great in Children of Bodom. His work, he was perfect with fitting into the band. Some of his riffs, lines, solos were great fit. Sounded awesome. Again, he's not going to be the biggest presence on stage, but however, when it's going to be his time to shine or play a solo, he's going to be there. So I think it'd be a great addition to the band.
Didn't he have wasn't he also the guy behind Warman?
I'm not sure.
So
I don't know enough about him.
I mean, I could be wrong. I have been known to be wrong once or twice on this podcast before. But if I'm not mistaken,
very rare.
If I'm not mistaken, he also had this neoclassical power metal band called Warman, and it was very much focused on like the 1600 Renaissance time in Italy, like the different houses and like different cities, whatever. But check them out. I'll send you a link called Warman. And in that band, all the time that he doesn't get to be in the spotlight for Children of Bodom, he was very much in the spotlight in that band because it was it was like Rhapsody style neoclassical power metal where you've got the guitar solo dueling with the keyboard solo, right? Anyway, check that out. But
okay,
Andrei, any thoughts so far on JP's lineup?
I want to hear this band.
But we don't know who the singer is yet.
I don't care. The instrumentals.
All right, JP, tell us.
For the singer, I had to go with someone who had a variety of music throughout his career, from very extreme death metal to more modern new metal. Strong vocalist with a strong stage presence. But I had to go with Max Cavalera.
Wow!
Did not
growling
coming.
But this just became like it went from a wow, this is interesting, this is very kind of ambient Eastern kind of melodic to like this is gonna kick your ass.
Yeah, because I'm curious to see how this melodic death metal band with Max bringing it back down to like.
Well, I was thinking about the growling, and yeah, he had. What I really like about him is like he really tried various types of metal. From if you take the early Sepultura to the Cavalera Conspiracy, throughout his career, even if.
So good, Cavalera Conspiracy. Oh man.
But very different genres, very different albums. Can't blame the guy for trying to find new sounds, new riffs, and new concepts in each of his bands. So that's why I think it would be a guy who would be up for trying that new genre, new band, new style, trying new sounds.
100%.
So growling plus variety, and I went with Max.
Awesome.
So that's my band.
Cool. This is a band full of curveballs, JP. Like that's cool. That's interesting. I have a hard time envisioning what that sound would be like, but I know that it would be kick-ass. Would be pretty cool.
Can we do a recap again? I'm trying to.
Yeah, I have Mario Duplantier on drums, Yanni from Children of Bodom on keyboards. Bass player is Orion from Behemoth, and then guitar player is Sammy and Marty, and vocals is Max Cavalera.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and look, it's the band of my dream. I love to have them. I think they can really. I think these guys could play together. Great musicians. Even if you look at Mario, the way he used to play in Gojira 20 years ago versus the way he plays now, it's very different. There's also now with Amazonia in their sound, Gojira, they're going more like on the South American sounds, rhythm. So
yeah, there would be some tribalistic stuff in there for sure.
100%. You're bringing Max Cavalera in there, and Marty Freeman He has worked all around the world. He's big in Japan. He has some very concept albums with different sound, but still he can play in an extreme modern thrash band. I think it would be. I really went for guys who have shown like a variety of styles and sounds in their career, and maybe Orion would be different in there, but
he will give it power. For sure.
I love the presence.
Awesome. Yeah, no, man, I'd love to. This sounds like this sounds like something that is either super weird or super awesome. It's cool.
Excellent.
Andrei.
I'd love to get my ass kicked in a mosh pit like that.
There you go. Yo, that would be. That was man. Orion with Mario doing breakdowns, like that would be one fucked up pit. I can just see Max go push it up. Awesome. Andrei, did you again steal half of JP's lineup?
I did not, and I didn't the first time either. He stole mine.
All right. So hey, maybe the same question that I asked JP for you. In your mind, even if you don't have a name for this band, in your mind, what is the music that this band is going to create?
It's an interesting one. I'm going somewhere, and once you hear the band members, you'll understand this a little bit more. But I'm also doing something a little bit kind of like a mix between like a melodic, like a 90s melodic death, and like 21st century post thrash.
Okay.
More so towards the latter, because my vocalist is I'm going to start off with my vocalist, just
awesome, because
that'll kind of explain everything. I also changed it. These two guys, I was going back and forth between two of my favorite vocalists right now in this style of music, and while I originally really wanted to have Randy Blythe as my singer, he took a back seat to Chuck Billy from Town.
I knew it. And let me guess, you just put the entire current lineup of Testament as your band, right? Which, by the way, is a killer lineup, honestly. But I knew you were gonna go with Chuck Billy. Awesome choice, by the way.
I absolutely love the way Chuck Billy sings right now. Like
he's better now than ever before.
Yeah, I love 80s Testament, but from production to the singing style, like I absolutely love what he did on, from Formation of Damnation to Dark Roots to now. It's that really aggressive. He can kind of half growl when he needs to, but it's that really kind of powerful, ballsy sound that takes the elements of like a Phil Anselmo 90s era, which I don't like, and injects just a little bit more of that raw, almost like a Hetfieldy twang to it.
Yeah.
I really dig it. So that was now you understand my earlier reference about what
solid choice
era.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Solid choice. And like what I like, you're absolutely spot on, Andrei. Like the way that Chuck Billy today sings, it's almost like he can sing with a grunt, like he doesn't have to scream to get that grunt. He can just do a whole verse in that deep growling voice while still being melodic, which is where most other singers, drop off. Like that's cool choice. I'm super excited to see where this is gonna go.
Yep, and that's what I really like about him. So yeah, for context, it's the 21st century Chuck Billy, not the Demonic and the Gathering, which would have fit as well, but just not my preference.
Yep.
In terms of, I'll take it back to the rhythm section at this point. For drums, Chris Adler, I absolutely love. I love his versatility. One of the things, and I didn't want to, jump the gun or give anything away, but when JP was talking earlier about Nick Menza and about how, not necessarily the same style, I find that somebody like Adler, who's played in both Lamb of God and Megadeth, has that ability to inject a little bit of flavor into even a more subtle drumming style without being over the top and overbearing. And I think that's really important because for the second half of the rhythm section, I decided to reanimate the great Cliff Burton and put him in this band. I think that Cliff's tendency to innovate, he was so ahead of his time. Yes, I know it's like an 80s bass player, but I think if he were alive today, given the opportunity, he would do incredible things in a more modern, more progressive, but yet very heavy style band.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's a great pick. He was ahead of his time in the 80s, so you can give him credit that it'd be ahead of the time today.
Yeah, there's really no definition for his style and no limit to his potential as an artist. So, again, a girl can dream, and only in my dreams. But, we'll move to the guitar section, and my guitarists are not as controversial or as interesting, but on one side, I really wanted to go with Michael Arnett, because from a kind of like a technical and more melodic death metal standpoint, I think he's fantastic. I think his songwriting abilities will really push his band into something different. He's been known to experiment, and he's been known to come into different artists and just completely flip the whole thing upside down and inject something unique and original. Every time he does something, not so much in recent years with Arch Enemy, but anytime that he does something fresh and new, it's phenomenal. So I'm hoping if this hypothetical band exists, he'll find his creative flair once again.
Yeah. No, I mean, solid choice. Like, let's be honest. Plus, this is then also in your band a key songwriter, right? Like, this is a guy that gives direction.
Yes.
He's a great songwriter. 100% agree. Great rhythm guitar player. It's a great pick.
and I don't think he'll clash with Burton too much. Which,
No.
From a writing standpoint, which is nice. Now, so the final spot, we'll go to a guitar player as well, and this is where I will admit my kind of not mistake, but sort of lack of precaution. When I was putting together this list, I didn't take into consideration the fact that too many songwriters in a band can be a recipe for a disaster. But it was too late to change.
That's okay. Yeah, sometimes you have 2-3 songwriters together and they do great work.
It could work amazingly, or it could backfire.
Unfortunately, and this is one of those things where I had 2 choices for this spot, and both of my choices are principal songwriters and complete my
jerks.
way kind of guys. So and I'm gonna change my mind because I was leaning towards one and cross out the other one, but I'm gonna cross out Chuck Schindler. Don't know how to.
Chuck Schuldiner from Death.
Yeah, that's the guy. I thought originally he was fantastic, but I'm gonna take him off my list and I'm gonna throw in Devin Townsend.
Oh,
Devin,
wow. Boom.
Yeah.
This is changed
I know.
everything. Because
different.
that Devin is not going to be able to not sing in this band also, right?
I know, and that's why I kind of like it. But the thing with Devin is he's done some really diverse stuff. Like he's done everything from electronic to progressive to, if you heard Strapping Young Lad, absolutely heavy as fuck, crazy stuff. So
I don't think that you have to sell. I mean, unless I'm mistaken, but I think that one of the few things that we all agree on, JP included, is that Devin Townsend is an absolute musical mastermind, and
100%.
Like one of the greats. But solid pick. I just totally did not expect that, because this is taking your thrash band really into this crazy direction that nobody will know what it will go except for Devin, who's going to take you there. That's pretty cool.
But that's the beauty of it, because it's not really thrash. Like, I mean, Michael Arnott is thrashy, but he's got that kind of melodic flair to it. And I think this is the opportunity for Devin to take the rhythm to something completely different. And he is a riff master.
Oh, 100%.
Are incredible. Like I have, when I was putting this list together, I have stuff playing in my head, and it's just like it's fucking phenomenal. And the more I thought about it, the more I leaned away from Chuck, because Chuck and Michael Arnott, they have not gelled together as nicely, especially just the sound. The VC rich guitar that Chuck always uses has that kind of muddy sound, and I don't know how that'll go with Arnott's more kind of cleaner.
Yeah, no, you're right there. I think, like, I mean, Michael Arnott, he's not afraid of experimentation. Now, you could say that Chuck also, obviously, the Death brought experimentation to death metal, but not in a sense that Devin Townsend does. And
no, but
and I agree. Like that, I'd love to see Michael and Devin, like just put those 2 guys together in a room and see what comes out of that. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that was my feeling about it as well. And I mean, with Chuck, I was leaning more towards like the Control Denied era Chuck. That's a little bit more, not as raw and rough around the edges.
Sure.
But I'm crossing him off. I think Devin all the way. Plus, you got to represent Canada, right?
100%. Yeah, no, that's a great pick.
I mean, this has just been like both of you guys just, curveballs all over the place. Pretty cool. Like, I mean, both bands so different. Like JP's band with Joe and Max bringing this tribalistic, like, I would expect, like, JP's band to be almost like a nail bomb, like raw, unrefined.
That's a good name for the band.
But that was actually a band. That's one of Max Cavalera's bands.
Oh, was it? Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, early 90s, a little industrial thrash, whatever. It was like the first quote unquote solo project of Max Cavalera.
And then I haven't really followed him much.
Only one album.
Yeah, one album. Yeah.
Epic album, but like, you know, like as JP would say, a slap in the face. And then Andrei's band is just like a heavy, you know, thrashy death metal band that at unexpected times would take you into unexpected places. So that's pretty cool. Awesome. This is cool. I want to now listen to these bands. This is fun. This is a lot of good stuff. So I did again limit myself to people that are alive. I will have you know that both of you have a band member that I also have. So there's two people in my band that we've talked about before. I'm gonna start again with the drums because, you know, it matters a lot to the identity. I'm calling this band. Sorry, in my mind, I have a blackened melodic death band. Just pure evil, if you will, but with melody and like a little bit of a Nwabum inspired guitar harmonies. I'm calling my band Pandemic, which I thought was a pretty good band. The album
Not
is by
demonic.
Oh, that's even better. But yeah, so like I said, you know, I was thinking about Mario as well as a drummer. But I quickly decided I wanted to really have this blackened death metal kind of vibe, just, you know, like, you know, epic, big, but evil and fast. And there were two drummers I was in between. Maybe the most impressive blast beat drummer that I've seen in my life. I had a chance to interview him. It's Adam Jarvis from Pig Destroyer and Misery Index, and also Scour with Phil Anselmo. He's just phenomenal, but it's like very much the blast beat, like, you know, non-stop, and I felt that this would overpower my band too much. And then there's this other drummer, which I think is one of the best drummers in the world and has a death metal background, but now plays in one of the biggest symphonic metal bands in the world, but still with a bit of a death metal-y influence. So I went with him, Arjen van Wezenbeek, who plays it in Epica. He was a God Dethroned before, but like, this guy is just an animal. And I wanted somebody that can go into the crazy blast beats, but can create melody with his drums as well when needed. So very versatile. And then for me, I mean, I'm an old school guy maybe. So for me, I always look at the bass and the drums together. Like, that combo is super important to me as a rhythm section. And that's where my first connection happens. I also went for Orion of Behemoth. I mean, if I want to have black and death metal, who else but Orion to kind of give you that powerful bass there? So I agree with you, JP. I think he's one of the best bass players. He is not a main songwriter, but he is a contributor. He's a songwriter. And there's this great, it's on YouTube. There's like some like mini documentary of like behind the scenes footage of Behemoth when they're recording the Evangelion album. And like Nergal is like talking about Orion, about how annoyed he was at the beginning with Orion because he didn't listen to Nergal and just didn't do whatever he was saying. And it's like, this guy wants to input. But yeah, he's just a beast. And I only have 5 people in my band this time. So I don't have a keyboard player. I only have 1 singer this time. But I do have 2 guitar players. Not twin lead guitar players like my classic band, although the rhythm guitar player can do lead guitar playing as well. But this is my second overlap. So I went with Andrei's pick as well for rhythm guitar, Michael Amott, obviously Arch Enemy, before Carcass as well. He's done a lot of great stuff, Spiritual Beggars as well, where he shows a little bit more of his old school guitar playing skills. But and he's one of the key songwriters in my band. Like, Michael is a great rhythm guitar player. He might be even a better songwriter. And so I thought that would gel well. On lead guitars, I went with somebody who is definitely not the main songwriter in his band. It's a he. not even the biggest star in his band right now by far, but I think the best guitar player in his band, and he's phenomenal and sometimes overlooked. I'm talking about Corey Beaulieu of Trivium. So not Matt Heafy, although I think I was like, I'm a big fan of Matt Heafy, and I know that, you know, especially when they were younger and they were just getting started, a lot of people were like, these are such arrogant little pricks. But I've always loved this band, but I think Corey is just an absolute phenomenal guitar player. Sure, Trivium is a modern metalcore kind of band, but Corey has played several times, sometimes with Trivium, sometimes with other bands, like this blackened black metal sometimes, or blackened death metal, and he can really do that really, really well. So plus, on top of that, he can just play like in Wabam style solos that would make Adrian Smith like jealous. So really great guitar player. And then for vocals, I really went with the blackened card, and this took me like, there's so many great vocalists, and I'm like, it's hard for me to pick who's my favorite vocalist in metal, not just in extreme metal, because, like, you know, I mentioned Corey Taylor earlier. I think he's great. I think Rob Flynn from Machine Head is a great, you know, frontman as well. I like Joran in, you know, more classic metal. John Bush from Armored Saint, who was at Anthrax, is a great singer as well.
Please tell me you went with ABBA.
No, I went with Erik Danielsson, the singer of Watain, for this band, and that just turns my band into a whole different level of evil, if you will.
I love it. It's funny when you say you were going through your band and talking about how it would be a blackened, you know, death metal band or blackened metal band. I thought you were gonna go with Vegard Tveiten for, again, I'm sure I butchered his name, but the singer of Emperor.
Yeah.
I think it was another.
It's funny you say that. I was just gonna say when Jasper mentioned that that kind of vocal style can only be delivered by Danielson, I was just thinking, I'm like, Emperor is the only thing that could come close.
Yeah. I Emperor crossed my mind. I was going with
I just wanted to
Tweeten.
I just wanted to go with
a great pick.
You know, a band that, you know, I really wanted to go with bands that are relevant today, and you know, Emperor, sure, Emperor is widely respected still, but Emperor, for all things said and done, is a band of the 90s. So I was like, okay, who are leaders today that would be a really cool, awesome, relevant super band today? And you know what, if I have to, there's so much great black metal these days, it's really hard to keep up because there's so much of it and so on. But if I have to look at, like, okay, what band for the last 15 years has consistently really blown me away, Watain is my pick. If I go for pure black metal, and I think that Eric's vocals, you know, paired with like some really cool solos, which happens a little bit in Watain, but not as much as it would happen in this band with Corey on lead guitar, with like this powerful bass from Orion. I think this could be a pretty cool band.
Yeah,
it's interesting how if you had selected a different vocalist, the entire sound of this band would change.
100%. I mean, I could put Simone Simons from Epica, who I think is one of the greatest singers of all time, on this lineup, and you would just have a very powerful symphonic metal band. But a vocalist definitely makes a difference. But cool. I mean, I don't think this will happen anytime soon, but hey, anybody on this list here?
You can,
I'm sure that Michael Amott is listening to our podcast right now. So, Michael, hit these guys up. They want to play with you, I'm sure. All right. Well, so those were our picks for the ultimate classic metal band and ultimate modern metal band. So let's just do a quick rapid fire. Let's just recap for the listeners who we had in our bands. So Andrei, I'm gonna have you go first. Go.
Classic band, I'm gonna start with John Lord of Deep Purple on keyboards. I'm gonna have Neil Peart from Rush on drums, Geezer Butler of Black Sabbath on bass, Marty Freeman and most notably Megadeth on guitar, and Russell Allen of Symphony X on vocals.
Awesome. JP, classic band. Go for it.
Classic band on drums, Nick Menza. Keyboard, John Lord. Bass player, Geezer. Guitar player, I have Angus Young and Adrian Smith. And on vocals, I have Bruce Dickinson.
I love how JP is just like, and if you don't know which bands these guys are
from...
sorry,
you said the band.
You.
Sorry, my...
You should
John Lord, Deep Purple, Geezer, Black Sabbath, Nick Menza, Megadeth. Adrian Smith, Iron Maiden, Angus Young, AC/DC, and Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden, and Bruce Dickinson solo.
Awesome. And in my classic metal band, I had Hannes van Dal from Sabaton on drums, bass guitar, Frédéric Leclerc from Creator, formerly at Dragon Force, lead and rhythm guitar, Watanabe Miyaku from Love Bites, as well as Richie Faulkner from Judas Priest. And on vocals, shared vocals, I have both Brittany Slays from Unleash the Archers, as well as Eric Adams of Manowar. All hail. Andrei, more modern band, your recap.
Let's do it. On drums, Chris Adler of Lamb of God, Megadeth, and most notably other stuff that I haven't been following too close to. The late Cliff Burton from Metallica on bass. We have Michael Ahmet from Arch Enemy and Carcass on the guitar, as well as Devin Townsend from everything on rhythm guitar, with Chuck Billy of Testament fame on vocals.
Awesome. And my modern band was a blackened melodic death band called Pandemic, with on drums Arjen van Wezenbeek from Epica, on bass I also have Orion from Behemoth, on rhythm guitar I also have Michael Amott from Arch Enemy, lead guitar Corey Beaulieu from Trivium, and on vocals I have Eric Danielson from Watain.
So my modern band is Mario Duplantier of Gojira on drums. On bass, same as you, Jasper, I have Orion. On guitar, I have Sammy of Creator and Marty Friedman. On keyboard, I have Yana from Children of Bottom. And vocalist, I have Max Cavalera. So that's my super band.
Awesome. There you go. So with that is a wrap for the 4th episode of the 3 Amigos. We will let you know through the Belgian Jasper Instagram account what we're cooking up for the next episode. And check us out on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and all that good stuff. From myself, from JP, from Andrei, thank you. Have a great rest of the day, no matter where you are. And Andrei, JP, cheers to another fun episode with the 3 Amigos.
Cheers.
You guys.